Thank you so much for that. All right. Hello, I'm Valerie Milano from the Hollywood Times. Thank you, Lane, for taking the time for us this morning.
Absolutely.
And thoroughly enjoyed your film. And so glad you're here with Dances with Films. Where are you right now?
I'm in North Hollywood in Los Angeles.
Okay, so very close. I'm in Los Feliz. So I'm the senior editor of the Hollywood Times. I know that we're so lucky to have this film, Testosterone, or T for short, will be showing on June 20th at the TCL Chinese Six Theater Ovation on June 20th at 7:15 p.m. So tell us, Mel Glickman, he's a co-creator, right?
Yes, yeah. Mel uses they pronouns. They're a co-producer and a co-creator of the film.
Great. Mel gives such a raw and honest performance as the lead. What was it about them that made you know that they were right for this role?
I really wrote the role for Mel, which kind
Oh,
of
gotcha.
makes it easy. Yeah, so I had known Mel when we were both back in Baltimore and worked together in 2015 and 2016 on several theater projects. They were in like a trans and female led production of Hamlet that I did that ended up in like the New York Times. And so we had collaborated together for many years. And they reached out to me when they were considering starting T about the possibility of making a film incrementally after Richard Linklater's Boyhood. And it was really ideal because Mel was absolutely the actor that I would have chosen if I knew how to look for somebody in that moment in their lives. And then, yeah, and then from the beginning, it was a project of writing a role for Mel, who I knew very well as a performer.
So, as the film was being shot, they were actually going through the transformation.
Yeah, exactly. And that felt like such an exciting opportunity for us because you often see these kind of like sensationalized gender transformations in film, usually hair and makeup changes on a cis actor who then might win an Oscar for how well they can portray a woman or whatever. So it's a little bit of an irritating phenomenon. And really, the transition process doesn't look like it's not just hair and makeup and learning how to sit differently. It's often a lot more grounded and organic than that. And so we felt that we had an opportunity to show more of those incremental changes.
And Lane, how long did it take you to film it?
We started in October of 2021 and we wrapped in July of 2023. And we had 5 shoots.
All right. Wow, that's fast. So the music in T feels like another character in the film. How did you go about choosing or collaborating on the score?
Yeah, this was another the process of this film was very like because I had made my first feature and so I knew well the resources that we were gonna have as a micro budget. And so it was very like, how do I write towards the resources that I have? So every song in the soundtrack is my brother, Kevin Stanley.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a fan of his music happily outside of being brothers. I think that he's obviously a very talented musician and I had used his music in films before in shorts and I knew that there's something a little my brother is a cis man, but he sings in that high falsetto. There's something interesting. There's something a little gender there's something going on with gender in his songs and they're so expressive. And this was another thing that kind of from the beginning I was thinking of Kevin's music for the film. And then we hired our composer as we were locking pictures. So much later in the process, we brought on our composer, Ed Varga, who I met at the San Francisco Transgender Film Festival several years ago. And we've also collaborated on several shorts. And something that I love about Ed is that he is just the best kind of like maximalist. So, like, we did a dance film where the score just goes, like, it just drives. And this film, we went through a bit of an audition process, even though we had worked together a few times before, just because I was like, this is a very subtle film. Like, the music is soft, it builds throughout, but we're in a really like internal and soft space with this film. And I want to see how you approach that. And then Ed just completely knocked it out of the park. And really, it took a lot of inspiration from the existing soundtrack of Kevin's that we had already laid in through the editing process.
Fantastic. I loved it. On another note, what does it mean to you to have T shown at Dances with Films, a festival known for championing bold indie voices?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be back at dances. We showed my first feature with them in 2021. So I've been once before, but obviously 2021 was a strange year for film festivals. So I'm happy to go in a non-COVID or a less COVID year. And yeah, it's just a joy to get to really be in the thick of Hollywood. It's such an iconic theater and pool parties at the Roosevelt. It does feel very, if it's a little on the glamorous side. It's very fun. And I'm really grateful that we're getting to premiere the film in Los Angeles because we shot here. A lot of our cast and crew is here. And sometimes you premiere a film and you're like off it. My documentary we premiered at Phoenix Film Festival, and that's a great film festival. And we had an awesome time. And I know exactly one person in Phoenix, and I'm so grateful she came. Like sometimes
Right.
you leave for some other city, and it's beautiful to get to share your film with people that you haven't met before and connect with audiences in other cities. And for our first showing, I'm really grateful that we all get to converge, be together.
So, have you shown this film to many or any audiences?
Just test audiences. Yeah, just some friends and family for conversations throughout the editing process, but this is our world premiere.
Were there any major challenges during production, particularly in telling such a personal story authentically?
Yeah, happily, in terms of telling the personal story, happily, because we just had a lot of trust and we had a lot of trans people on set. I think that helps build trust. And between me and Mel, I think that we were always just very on the same page and lines of communication were very open and we legitimately really respect each other's opinions. So the time that disagreements arise, we're usually like, oh, okay, cool, let's resolve this, not like, how do I win the disagreement? So I think that created a very kind of open and collaborative space to we all just wanted the film to be as good as it could be and the story to be as clear and insightful as it could be. But production challenges, millions, very challenging. Any indie film is a small miracle anytime that we get that much footage together outside of the studio system is yeah, it's a miracle. But having to do 5 shoots instead of one, it was positive in terms of who we could call in as favors. Like there's one particular weekend where we had this gaffer who was just like a magician. He like bounced the sun off the ceiling, and I was just like, I have no idea what you're. He was just like incredible. We had a camera operator who was coming off of Licorice Pizza and onto our set. We had all of these just like incredible people who were like, oh, it's only 2 days, sure. And that's also a credit to one of our cinematographers, Giselle Gonzalez, just has this incredible community of these just like phenomenal professionals who will just show up for her and her projects. And that's because of who she is, the way that she gives herself to the things that she works on. So it was a gift in those ways. And 5 shoots means 5 permits, five location setups, 5 wraps, like it was just 5 insurances. Like everything was magnified, right? Especially for production design, but also for you have to pick up the camera and drop equipment rental happens every time. All of that production stuff is magnified. And then just people's lives changed over the course of 2 years, especially when you're working with people in their 20s. 2 years can be a very long time where their life circumstance really changes. And so people moved out of Los Angeles, people got new jobs that changed their availability, and we lost locations. And yes, it was challenging, but we survived.
Good.
We made
Yeah. Yeah. The film shows it. So, Lane, what advice would you give to other emerging trans filmmakers who want to tell complex, character driven stories?
Yeah, I think that we really need each other right now. I think that it's a scary time. It's an even scarier time now than it was when we started the film or when we finished the film. And I think that we can sometimes get so caught up in the people who are the most against us, but and those people are out there and they're scary and they have to be engaged with, unfortunately, in some capacity. And I think it's also like, how do we tell stories for each other? And then how do we tell stories for like the next circle out, right? People who are like, I know I want to be supportive of my trans friends. I don't 100% understand what's going on. Like, I don't totally get it. I want to be supportive. I don't quite know how. Like those people, like thinking about those people rather than whoever's leading the charge to get people kicked off your local soccer team or whatever. It's just like, how do we get those neighbors and those allies a little closer in? And then how do we just tell stories for each other that it's okay to be and it's okay to exist in whatever way we exist?
You said that perfectly. Thank you for that. And I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you for this story, this film. And where do you go next? Do you have a whole film festival circuit you're doing?
Yeah, so we're waiting to find out what'll be next for T after Dances with Films. And, but I'm sure we have a lot of great irons in the fire. And yeah, it'll be a busy year for sure.
Love it. Good luck to you. And we're the Hollywood Times today. And the Hollywood Times Official is our YouTube channel. And thank you so much for telling your story and Mel's story, and keep it going. And thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Lane.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.